What's a 10/10ths album from the last 15 years by a relatively obscure artist/band? PSA, 15 years ago was not the 90s. We're talking 2002 here. Oh shit. I meant 25 years. I like how even Op ducked up on this one. We Like It Here by Snarky Puppy Edit. Rip inbox also to people saying they aren't that obscure. They are, certainly in Europe. The Op asked for relatively obscure. You only don't think they're obscure because you know who they are. And plenty of obscure acts win Grammys. Emancipator, Soon It Will Be Cold Enough. One of my favorite albums of all time. Edit, added link for the lazy. Pup The Dream Is Over. Doing 180 on the Don Valley Parkway. The transition between If This Tour Doesn't Kill You and DVP is something dreams are made of. Punch Brothers, The Phosphorescent Blues. Basically the 5 best bluegrass musicians in the world got together to use bluegrass instruments to play anything but bluegrass. Super detailed, complicated music, amazing lyrics, awesome instrumentals. There really isn't another band out there that is on their level. If you're a musician, listen to each song again for each instrument individually, and it will blow your mind with something new every time. Cannot recommend these guys enough. Edit. Since this is getting a lot of attention, here is one of my favorite live videos of them. It's a full show, almost 2 hours, and they play some of their best stuff. You can literally skip to any part of this video and it will be incredible. Link also, since people have mentioned it, their kick-ass cover of Reptilia by The Strokes. Alopecia, why? Pinegrove, Cardinal. They've been gaining ground, as of late, but I still think they're pretty obscure. Edit, dang, look at all of those upvotes. Here's a sick video of Pinegrove playing their new track, and here's their audio tree session. Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition. Guy is barely known out of hip hop, but this album perfectly captures the man's addiction and depression. Gojira, From Mars to Sirius. From Mars to Sirius is incredible, definitely my favorite Gojira album. I think the band also deserves credit for last year's Magma album. It's a much more stripped down approach to their music, but it somehow doesn't lose any of the heaviness or nuance. Even my 60-year-old mum really likes Magma. Magma was a phenomenal album. John Hopkins, Immunity. Burial, untrue. As much of a modern classic for me as Boards of Canada Music has The Right to Children. As soon as the very first notes of Music Has the Right to Children hit, I know I'm about to be taken to a whole new world. What a ducking masterpiece. 2 of my favorites, The Menzingers, On the Impossible Past Car Seat Headrest, Teens of Denial. Maps of Non-Existent Places by Thank You Scientist. Really, really good prog fusion. U2.B. Jeff Rosenstock, Worry. You looking for something to prove that not all pop punk is bad? This album is it. The first half of the album contains extremely solid songs that share common themes with each other, but the second half of the album is set up in vignette form. It's essentially one big song that ends the album off perfectly. Fun story about Jeff Rosenstock. I was drunk and 17 and went to see me. And I kept yelling at them to play Rocket 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 Ship, and he pointed at me and said, "This guy is bumming me out," and my only story of him is bumming him out, and it wasn't actually a fun story. It's a story of me being an asshole and him just saying this because I wish I could apologize because I still feel like an asshole. So you're saying you saw Jeff Rosenstock once and you were drunk and screamed too loud? Andrew Bird, The Mysterious Production of Eggs. I wish I could do anything half as good as Andrew Bird whistles. The Hotelier, Home, Like No Place is their fantastic emo-tinged alt-rock, in the vein of Brand New, Manchester Orchestra, etc. album is heavily framed around the concepts of mental health, and by God if the last few lines of the album don't make you feel something when he sings them. I felt the noose tighten up on your collarbone, I felt the gun in the small of your back engraved in the stone by request, and recursive friends dead is tell me again that it's all in my head. Julian Baker, Turn Out the Lights, holy heck is she good, this album will make you very sad, same with her previous LP. Elder, Lore. Great stoner rock prog metal album that I found out about due to and released in Tothy's post a few months ago. I've listened to an album of theirs at least 2 or 3 times a week since finding out about them. Honorable mention to their most recent album, Reflections of a Floating World. Both are incredible, but Lore is just a smidge better in my opinion. Agalloch, Ashes Against the Grain. The Mantle will always be my favorite album of theirs, but you really can't go wrong with Agalok. Nonagon Infinity by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It's a looping prog rock thrash album with 74 and other weird time signatures, flawless execution, and clear, audible lyrics that barely make sense when you're high. Starting on a certain track also allows you to seamlessly chain into another of their works, The Lord of Lightning vs. Balrog, a multi-part saga on their album Murder of the Universe. Nonagon Infinity nutted in my brain and I couldn't stop listening until my son hatched from my eye. Animals by This Town Needs Guns. Math rock isn't dead. Aj, people who can eat people are the luckiest people in the world. There's so much about them that's different that makes me like them so much. From using traditional folk instruments used in a punk rock manner, to their off-color lyricism. It's definitely an album you have to listen to more than once to really get the vibe, because it's pretty different, but it's so good. Hippocampus, Landmark. These guys are gaining some popularity, but they're still relatively new. Just a great alternative band altogether. John Frusciante, The Will to Death. John played guitar and was the backup vocals for Red Hot Chili Peppers for a very long time, coming in and out of the band to do solo work, spiral down a path of heroin abuse, and eventually getting sober. This album is part of his project where he wanted to release 6 albums in 6 months, and this is by far one of the best from that period. Lime's Fresh Squeeze. This beat tape is probably my favorite to relax and put on, because it's a really good mix of jazz and hip-hop. Odds, they're touring right now playing that record front to back, and then lots of other stuff because it's 30 minutes, and that shit rules. I saw them play 2 shows in NYC and it was the best time I've had in months. Catch one of the shows before the tour ends if you can. Destroyer, Kaput. Musically the album is yacht rock, think white linen suits, saxophone, guitar drenched in reverb, but the lyrics are cryptic barbs against capitalism and culture that are witty but shy of being pretentious. It's soothing and disrupting at once, and in a way I think it's the perfect 21st century album. Dan Behar is probably best known as a member of the New Pornographers, but this project, which has been going on a long time, is where he shines. Also album by girls. It's twee and naive and catchy in a Beach Boys way and makes me think of the best summer of my life, so maybe it's just me. Frightened Rabbit, The Midnight Organ Fight. Hand Cannot Erase by Steven Wilson. Seriously, this guy has been making masterful music for a long time and he did an amazing job with this album. I think I had the CD on repeat in my car for a good 6 months after I bought it. The Raven That Refused to Sing is amazing too. Especially if you're into more jazzy stuff. Frank Turner, love our song English folk punk alternative and honestly love all of his albums. This is just the first one that I heard and still love everything about it. Fiddlar Fiddlar. Venetian Snares, Roast Chilog Alat Sultan. Vector, Terminal Redux. Not only is the music really good, but the storyline is awesome too. Edit, link. Best Buds by Mom Jeans. These guys are amazing, and just signed a deal with a label, so another album coming soon. But they've nearly quintupled in popularity since my friend and I started following them in January. Edit, glad to see so much love for Mom Jeans. Honorable mention to Bay Faction because they have some great tunes as well, Sasquatch.22 being a personal favorite. U2.B. I'm Letting Go by Circa. Survive Culture. Scars by Hail the Sun. Update, new Hail the Sun album kicks major ass. Southeastern by Jason Isbell. La Dispute, Wildlife. Are the Mountain Goats obscure enough? Because the Sunset Tree is a perfect album. It's a biographical album about the frontman's childhood and dealing with things like domestic violence. The album liner is dedicated to his stepdad, the recurring culprit of domestic violence. Made possible by my stepfather, Mike Noonan, 19,400,2004. May the peace which eluded you in life be yours. Now dedicated to any young men and women anywhere who live with people who abuse them. With the following good news, you are going to make it out of there alive. You will live to tell your story. Never lose hope. In case my fellow Mountain Goats fans aren't aware, there's a new podcast called I Only Listen to the Mountain Goats, and they're starting by going through All Hail West Texas, song by song, with a cover of each song at the end of the episode. Also, you get to hear John Darnielle's wonderful thoughts and voice. Highly recommended.